public hearings, citizens were not really informed. So the Public Education Office now makes an effort to do so prior to public hearings.
Indeed.
Citizens are informed about what this bill is going to say and what is it that is expected of them to input. But besides that, remember that this parliament was extremely rigid. It was male-dominated. It was exclusive. Citizens could not even come here for a tour. So Dr. Frinitjhi Ncwane, those are the things that she brought with her to say we must change this parliament because the people who have elected the members of the National Assembly need to come and see where their members debate, where are these laws made within the institution. But besides that, outside of parliament, as we said, the role of the speaker is to also engage with the international world. So she went and served as a member of the preparatory committee for the First World Conference of Presiding Officers. So remember, we said she is a global person as well. She needs to know what is happening. So this interaction of the presiding officers in a global platform, then it allows them to share ideas as to how best can they serve their parliaments as to where they are. But also before finishing, she also initiated a women's national coalition, of which later on she became the chairperson. So today we speak of a women's charter. It didn't start with her, but that conversation started way back. But as the speaker, she was also influential in the influence of having a women's charter. So that is our first speaker of parliament, Dr. Frinitjhi Ncwane.
That is beautiful. I mean, she's iconic. There's so much to celebrate about women, and for her, the legacy that she leaves behind, having been the very first woman to take up that position, there's so much to celebrate in her. But let's move on to Mayor Baleka Mbete, who subsequently then took up that position after her. And she was. Go ahead.
After that, Sibulelo, we had then Baleka Mbete, who was also the speaker. Yes, who was the speaker as well, just after Dr. Frinitjhi Ncwane. So she's also a seasoned politician in her own right. She actually understands, she was in exile as well. But Mama Mbete, as the second speaker of the National Assembly, she took the position for 4 years, and then she vacated the position when we had Deputy President of South Africa, President Kgalema Motlanthe, assuming the position from 2008 and 2009. But the speaker, the former speaker, Mrs. Baleka Mbete, one of her very important things that will become a legacy for her as well in parliament, she monitored that the members of the National Assembly were actually missing sessions in parliament. They were not coming to report and attending the sittings that they are supposed to. Remember, these are representatives of the public. So when they don't come and attend the sittings, what do they report when they go to the constituency period? So she ensured that there is a register that is developed that every member of the National Assembly needs to sign. Hence today we will see different colored pieces of paper that are more like a register, so that as you walk in, you sign in, and then you drop it into the box so that it can be monitored in terms of how frequent does a member attend the sittings.
I think what is also important to emphasize about the role of the speaker as we reflect on all the women, without de-emphasizing the one male who was there. Much respect to him as well. But the very important thing to emphasize is the fact that each and every epoch within a democratic space, yes, each and every space within a particular epoch it has something it's got very specific. The political context is such that it will require the incumbent to do very specific things, to bring interventions within the parliamentary machinery that are always in line with bringing improvements, but also it is about making sure that you are responding to this unfolding context. So when Mam Ginala came in, obviously that was right at the beginning of our democracy. We didn't have any systems in place, and you spoke to the public education legacy that she leaves behind and how significant that is to keep our citizens involved. Now, when it comes to Mambete's coming in to Parliament, the fact that she has now put that system in place, which is also quite critical to ensure that members know, they understand that they cannot just stay away from Parliament, that there is this register that if you didn't sign your orange or pink slip, it means that you did not come into Parliament. So when I reflect on where we are right now, personally, I'm thinking about obviously COVID-19, the impact on the economy, the skyrocketing levels of unemployment and joblessness in the country. So it's about oversight. And this is an issue that has also come up at the Zondo Commission, that oversight needs to be improved. And we need to make sure that Parliament needs to actually do better. Not that Parliament has not been performing, but there's always space for improvement, particularly when it comes to oversight, because that becomes a key mechanism to advance transformation.
And as we have mentioned, also the other two women who have also empowered the women in terms of the position. We also have another lady. How pleasant is this, speaking about ladies?
Absolutely beautiful during Women's Month.
Yeah, so the other speaker that came in was Mama Gwen Mahlangu Nkabinde. Remember that she was the chairperson in the National Council of Provinces, and thereafter she came in as the deputy speaker of the National Assembly for 4 years, and that was from 2002 and 2008. But then immediately when the political landscape changed in the country, then she was assigned as the Speaker of the National Assembly from September 2008 to May 2009. So then that was her life as the Speaker of the National Assembly. But prior to that, and also during her position as the Speaker, she was involved in quite many programs that looked to the elimination of discrimination of women. And also in one, she was actually a vice president as well in the Parliamentary Union and Coordinating Committee of Women Parliamentarians. So women have been in their positions working very hard to empower and to also seek to find their rightful position and claim their rightful position as women in the political environment. But also as the president of the latter committee that I spoke to, Coordinating Committee of Women Parliamentarians, she also launched the first handbook. And that particular handbook was known as the Convention for the Elimination of All Forms of Discrimination Against Women in 2003. So all these women have ensured that there is a change. They leave a stamp when they leave the office of the Speaker. So we actually do pay tribute to them, but Absolutely. We are not done as yet.
We're not done.
So there is
the
recently former Speaker, Umama Uthandi Modise. What can you tell us about her?
I think also, I mean, just from reflecting on Memudise's legacy, she is obviously, we know that she came into Parliament as the chairperson of the NCOP, and then after her term in the NCOP, she was then she was elected into the National Assembly as Speaker of the National Assembly. So I think I just want to touch again on the issue of women's contribution towards advancing gender equality in the country and the role of Mejinwala. And we know that Membete was the coordinator of the progressive the SA, South African Progressive Women's Movement, which really sought to bring women of all different political persuasions together to have this apolitical structure, the structure that would advance women's rights and gender equality. And also we have to also think about what the Women's Charter represents. The Women's Charter that was passed in 1954 was the document of demand. But I think for now, I think perhaps what we should be doing, we will be crossing over to the House, because it would seem that the voting process has been concluded. We don't have audio at the moment. So while we wait for the sound to come through, just to say that the 1954 Women's Charter was a document of demand. It was a document of demand that came through at a time, at a very difficult time, when women did not have rights, when apartheid was adopted right at the beginning, at the inception of our democracy. So meaning that there were no systems in place, there were no legislative or policy systems in place, there were no mechanisms in place to advance gender equality in the country. Now, when we look at the current charter, the newly developed Women's Charter for Accelerated Development, this charter is now assessed 25 years later, after it is actually assessed within the context of our functional democracy, meaning that this charter is now developed on the basis of we're able to look back and say, what did the current dispensation, the democratic dispensation, what has been achieved? Since we said women made their declaration, they made their intentions very clear in relation to what their demands are in 1994, how far have we come in relation to that? But more importantly, the new charter also, I think we are now crossing over. It would seem that they are now ready to proceed and announce.
Honorable members, I have received a written report from the returning officer, Ms. Kyawa, who's also acting secretary to Parliament. The result of the ballot is as follows. There were two nominees, Mapisa Ngagula, 199 votes, 199. The second nominee, Lotrit, 82 votes. Spoiled votes, sorry, let me finish. Spoiled votes, 17, that's 17. Votes that were cancelled or reissued, 0. The total number of votes were 298. I can assure you everything was done, double-checked, and we reconciled. All of that was done in the presence of myself and the returning officer. In terms of item 6 of part A, schedule 3 to the Constitution, I accordingly declare Honorable Nosiviwe Mapisa Ngagula duly elected as the Speaker of the National Assembly. Madam Speaker, on behalf of all present here, I have the honor of congratulating you on your election as Speaker. I now call upon the Acting Sergeant of Arms to conduct the Honorable Speaker to the chair, which I've already warmed for her.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Honorable Esteisen. Thank you. Thank you very much. Acting Chief Justice, here, Judge Sope, honorable members of our National Assembly, members of the executive of our Republic, fellow South Africans. This is particularly honorable. I'm really sorry. Order, please. Order, honorable members. Order, please. This is particularly an emotional occasion for me. Seated amongst you in those benches during the proceedings and the elections, I sincerely felt humbled to have been nominated as a candidate for the position of Speaker of this august House. I also felt great pride, both as a member of this House and as a South African, observing the exercise of democracy during these proceedings, with all parties, big and small, fully utilizing the opportunity and space to nominate and vote freely for candidates of their choice for the position of Speaker. It is upon this foundation that Parliament has continued to stand as the foremost custodian and protector of our democracy. It is important that this foundation of true democratic participation should never be compromised, not for personal whim or for narrow party political interest. All our people, represented wholly by the members deployed from various parties in this Parliament, should always feel comfortable that all their interests, however diverse, will have due consideration here and have the confidence in Parliament's role as the last line in the defense of our hard-earned democracy. I return, of course, to be part of collective leadership of this national legislature after what can be considered a long stay within the executive branch of government. I therefore fully appreciate, honorable members, the extent of the transition that I must personally make in order to fulfill my obligations and those of this House, to ensure accountability and oversight of the executive branch. Having said that, I also recognize that for us to succeed as a country, all the three branches of government of state should function in collaborative manner while exercising their distinct functions and roles without impediment. It is also my desire to better collaboration between parties, especially in advancing issues affecting the national interest of our country. I think South Africa should also celebrate the fact that for the 5th time since the dawn of our democracy, a woman is elected Speaker, thereby demonstrating the confidence our country has showed in women leadership and their abilities. That on its own makes an important statement about our commitment to the struggle for the advancement of women and the defeat of patriarchy in our society, especially during this Women's Month. Honorable members, our tasks, and my task in particular, as well, is well cut out for us. The circumstances under which we hold this special session are a clear demonstration of how the arrival of COVID-19 pandemic has changed both the functioning of Parliament and the lives of our people out there. The pandemic is driving us to change from our normal as we strive both to have our country functioning while we also ensure that we save lives. In this regard, it is absolutely important that we find new and effective ways of working, even as the legislature, so that our obligation to ensure accountability and oversight, especially during this pandemic, is not compromised, not even a bit. We are already almost halfway in the 6th term of Parliament, and indeed history will judge us harshly should we end this term having failed to make meaningful impact in improving the lives and the lot of our people. I extend, honorable members, a hand of cooperation to each member and to each of the political parties represented in this House, and pledge to protect the integrity and the mandate of the House, together with each one of you without fear or favor. I want to thank my own party, the African National Congress, for the confidence they have showed in me by nominating me as a candidate for this position. I will never take your confidence for granted and never betray the people of South Africa. Chief Shope, thank you very much for making yourself available to provide over today's proceedings, despite your immensely busy schedule, especially as you wrap up the important work of the Judicial Commission, your commission. I also want to thank the Acting Secretary of Parliament and the staff of Parliament for the diligent work they have done in preparing for this special sitting. I would like to thank the ANC and for 3 successive leaders of the executive, former President Mbeki, former President Jacob Zuma, and current President of the Republic of South Africa, Cyril Ramaphosa, for the confidence and opportunity they gave me to serve in the executive in various capacities over the past years. It has been both honor and privilege in service. I pledge to use my tenure as Speaker to foster greater cooperation and ensure fair leadership within this House. I am committed to the full provisions of the Constitution of the Republic of South Africa and the rules of the National Assembly. Ndiyabulela, Enkosi, Riyalebucha. Thank you very much. Baya danki. Thank you very much. Order. That concludes proceedings for the day. Members are requested to remain at their places until the procession has left the chamber. The procession will leave the House in the following order: Acting Sergeant in Arms, at Arms, Speaker, Deputy Speaker, Judge President, Acting Secretary to Parliament, and the House is adjourned. Thank you.
Yes. Viewers, that is where we come in. Okay. That is where we end it for the day, but not finally to the end of the program of the day, because we just need to recapture. In front there is the Sergeant in Arms, followed by the Speaker, by the Deputy Speaker, Judge President, and the Acting Secretary to Parliament. So they have vacated now the National Assembly. And today we do indeed have the Speaker of the National Assembly as Umama Mapisa Ngagula. So she is the Speaker. The seat is no longer vacant as from this moment. So she has occupied and already given 2 orders into the National Assembly. So already she came in, guns blazing, and her duties have already started. So also what was interesting is how she acknowledged the Women's Month and how women have taken this seat
Indeed.
and improved the issues of women within this parliament. But before we even go further into her history, we also need to give you an update as to what really happened when the votes were counted. What we can say is that there was a total of 298 votes. So meaning 298 members voted for their preferred candidate. And then in terms of that, those who voted for the speaker, Umama Mapisa Ngakula, there were 199. And then those who voted for Dr. Annelie, there were 82 votes that she received. And then, of course, you get from time to time spoiled votes. And this was no different as well. So as there were 17 spoiled votes. And then in terms of cancellation, there were no cancelled votes. But otherwise, that is the report, and that is the outcome of the votes of the election process that was followed in order to ensure that by the end of today, the National Assembly has a speaker. Sibulelo.
That was very, it's another historic moment that we have just observed from an ANC, from the part of the ANC, and what she's rightfully also alluded to in her, when she gave her speech, when she delivered her first speech after she had taken up her seat, is the confidence that not only the ANC, the African National Congress has shown in her, in nominating her, because they know her capacity, but she's also thanked the three presidents who served, because she served in President Mbeki's administration. She also served in President Zuma's administration. She served up until recently in President Cyril Ramaphosa's cabinet. So indeed, she is also basically just saying that she appreciates the trajectory, the fact that there has always been this confidence in her, and this transition, it is a most fitting transition for someone who has spent quite a bit of time in the executive with a very broad range of expertise based on the portfolios that she had at the time when she was serving in the executive. And she also spoke to the issue of her commitment to advance the national interests. She also spoke to issues of the multi-party space that we're finding ourselves in the parliament is, and that she appreciated the processes that took place, all of the processes, the preparations, and the confidence of members to actually also nominate, and even for the DA, of course, to nominate a party of their, a candidate of their choice, and for members to, of course, cast their vote on the basis of the candidate that they so choose. But ultimately, she came out winning with, you said, how many votes did she get in total?
She got about 199 votes.
She got 199 votes, which makes her the 5th woman speaker of the National Assembly since the advent of our democracy in 1994.
And also in her speech, one of the things that might stand out to some of the viewers as well, or to the viewers who are watching this program, is her commitment to say that she will not compromise oversight.
Indeed.
As we might recall, the Zondo Commission and the court's decisions over the previous years, all of them were pointing to the lack of oversight within Parliament, meaning that area needs to be strengthened and to be made to be effective as per the Constitution demands. So this commitment to say oversight will not be compromised, it will touch whether it's the departments as well, it will be strengthened by this particular commitment, because at the end of the day, the oversight forms part of the Constitution, and it carries her mandate as the Speaker to ensure that the members of Parliament conduct oversight from the departments, filtering down to the National Assembly when the department come and explain what is it that they are doing. Because remember, during the budget votes, they make commitments to do particular programs. So this oversight will really be strengthened. But we also say citizens as well they must also conduct oversight as well, to say in support as well of the speaker, even though they are not members of parliament, but the constitution gives them the right to say, if there are things that are not working right, they have a right to come and conduct oversight. And also what stood out as well is to say, with the COVID-19, we cannot work the same way as we did in 2019 and backwards, but things need to change to ensure that our country functions properly in rendering services, social services, and whatever services that are needed by citizens, and also find effective ways of parliament to ensure that how they've started during COVID, it gets better and better every day.
Indeed. For me, what also stands out, and this does not come from a place of feminism, it purely speaks to the status of women in this country, that women in South Africa continue to be disproportionately affected by poverty and unemployment. And she also spoke about the commitment. She spoke about the commitment of the African National Congress to defeat patriarchy and to advance gender equality in the country. And of course, we are in Women's Month as well. So all of these issues are quite important. The status of women and also her commitment to ensure, to give credence or to, recognize that these are some of the issues that will have to, of course, find expression in the workings of Parliament.
And this is what our speaker has been doing prior to claiming the seat of the speaker. Mama Mapisa Ngabula was the Minister of Defense and Military Veterans of the Republic of South Africa from the 26th of May, 2014 to the 5th of August, 2021. She was also the chairperson of the Joint Standing Committee on Intelligence and member of the Joint Standing Committee on Defense since 1994. Also, she was a member of Parliament from 2004 and a member of the National Executive Council, NEC, of Africa for the African National Congress since December 2007. So in terms of her qualifications, what has she achieved? What she has achieved in her academic life is that she holds a primary teacher's diploma from the Bensonville Teachers Training College and also has a project management with the Canadian University Studies. She also did the basic human relations course, community development course, communications course, and she also trained in youth leadership. And currently she's studying psychology with the Newport University. And of course, she matriculated from Mount Arthur High School. And in terms of her career as well, and her activities in the communities, she taught at Bensonville Junior Primary School in 1978 and at St. Matthew's Teachers Training College in 1979. She went on to serve as a youth worker with Target Timothy, a project from 1981 to 1982, and worked with open schools just to help students from disadvantaged communities who were matric dropouts. She didn't stop there. She continued and became a founder of the East London Domestic Workers Association in 1982 and served as assistant director of Masazane Open School, a project of the South African Institute of Race Relations from 1982 to 1984.
Well, there's quite a lot that she's done.
Indeed.
There is it's a huge wealth of experience that she has. And she comes into this position with this wealth of experience, particularly at this point in time when the country needs the requisite skills, to navigate our way forward. She also served as the head of commission set up to investigate desertions of the African National Congress MK members to the United Nations High Commission for Refugees in Angola in 1984. Ms. Mapisa Ngakula left the country and underwent military training in Angola and the Soviet Union, respectively, in 1984, and she served as a member of political and military structures in the Soviet Union in 1985. She also attended Equality Development and Peace, an Equality Development and Peace seminar in Nairobi in 1985, and she worked with the political military structures of the African National Congress from 1986 to 1988. She represented the African National Congress Women's Section to the Pan-African Women's Organization from 1998 to 1990. During that time, she also attended the Powell Regional Seminar on the Emancipation of Women in Lusaka in 1989. Furthermore, in 1990, she was deployed within the country to help rebuild the African National Congress structures. And furthermore, in 1990, during that period, she attended the Malibongwe Conference in Amsterdam. She also served as the national organizer of the African National Congress's Women's League, and she was a member of its National Executive Committee between 1990 and 1993. Ms. Mapisa or Ngakula also was a member of the Theme 3 core group of the constitution making process, the constitution making process since 1994, and she served as the Secretary General of the African National Congress's Women's League, and she was also a member of the African National Congress's National Executive Committee, which is popularly known as the NEC, respectively from 1993 to 1997. She served as Deputy Chairperson of the ANC's Political Committee and as Chief of the Majority Party in 2001. And she has also served as the President of the African National Congress's Women's League from 2003 to 2008. She has also represented the ANC Women's Section to the People's Republic of Angola for 2 years, and in 1985, she attended the second African National Congress's Consultative Seminar in Kabwe. She has worked very closely with women's organizations inside and outside the country. Now, before her appointment as the Minister of Defense and Military Veterans, Ms. Mapisa Ngakula also served as Deputy Minister of Home Affairs from the 6th of May 2002 to the 28th of April 2004. And then as Minister of Home Affairs from 29 April 2004 to the 10th of May 2009. And as Minister of Correctional Services of the Republic of South Africa from 11 May 2009 to 12 June 2012. She also was Minister of Defense and Military Veterans of the Republic of South Africa from 12 June 2012 to date. That is the illustrious, that is the very huge
Indeed.
body of experience, wealth of experience she brings into the current position. And all of the experience that she has accumulated and garnered since the beginning of her, her work in the ANC structures, her work across various parts of not only of the African continent as part and parcel of the liberation movement, and also coming into the governance structures of the ANC. She comes in with a wealth of experience, and we can really expect to see great transformations. We can really expect to see great impact as well, because she also spoke about the fact that the country is now still grappling with the impact of COVID-19, and that there is a need to ensure that the national interest does not get compromised. So she is most fittingly, I mean, just based on the CV that we have just gone through, she is somebody that has a wealth of experience and is more than capable to lead and make a great impact in the current position.
She is well-rounded.
Well-rounded.
She is
indeed.
well-rounded, because you even think if domestic workers come to speak to her, she will give them an ear. When the young people, the youth comes to her, she will have something to say. Indeed, she comes with broad experience and knowledge as to how then she will assist in ensuring that the National Assembly functions as it is expected by the Constitution. This is the end of the show, but before we say good night, we would like to say thank you to the production team. We'd like to say thank you as well to the presenters. We also want to say thank you to even those that we do not know, the caterers, who made sure that we get our breakfast and our lunch and everything. But to also South Africans, we have the speaker in Mama Mapisa Ngakula today, and we end the show by saying, congratulations,
Indeed.
Mama. Let the spirit of the women and the strength of the women continue in this political environment. Good night.
This book, our Constitution, protects our society and empowers us to govern. The Protea leaves are us, the people, who freely elect our voices in Parliament. The drum calls the people of Parliament, through whom we govern together. And the sun is our country, healing our past, improving our lives, and energizing our potential. Together, our Constitution, our people, our Parliament, and our country are building our great South African nation. Parliament TV, Channel 408 or DSTV.